So as I've moved along here, I've used cobalt blue and alizarin crimson and a little quinacridone magenta and a bit of white on these more distant hills, rounding, giving this rounding effect and allowing this to be a little lower in value to contrast the light, bringing some drama and some strength to it. And then as we come closer, I've dispensed with the cobalt blue and going to more quinacridone magenta, and then starting to put a little bit of cad yellow pale and yellow ochre into the mix as we get into these colors. And then we come forward yet more, and I've done completely away with the alizarin crimson, but stayed with hints of the magenta and some yellow ochre. And then coming into this area, it's been straight yellow ochre and cad yellow pale, just to put some highlights on the bush there. Now I always like this, a slice of light across a distant shore, and within your focal area provides drama, strength. So I've just laid some, yellow ochre, ultramarine blue, and I just picked up a tube of ultramarine blue. Anyway, ultramarine blue, yellow ochre, and white. Mostly yellow ochre, very little ultramarine blue, because I don't want a shock of blue from this transitioning to the shoreline. I would rather that the shoreline picks up light, and against that shore where that light is picked up, it is a little more closely related to the colors that are in the bush. And because yellow ochre is sort of the dominant color within this mixture, these two marry up well. Now as I go lower, I'm going to go bluer, deeper, a little stronger. Cobalt blue is a bit higher chroma. Well, kind of depends on how you're using it, I guess, but it's pretty strong. And I think what I might do is put some cobalt blue and white from here to here, a little wider than this band, and then after that we'll work into ultramarine blue. I don't think I want the bands to be too strong, but let's see, maybe I do. Okay. See, that's garish right now. That strong blue against the yellow. But on a small painting like this, for some strange reason, it often looks good. I'm adding a touch of yellow ochre to my ultramarine blue. You'll barely be able to see it, but it warms it up. It warms it up just a little bit. And I've mentioned before, I find, to my taste, cobalt blue is kind of cold. I don't think I want a strong second line there. I think we'll just paint right up to it. I'm using kind of a small brush for this, but given that I need to paint around some shapes, I'm not going to worry too much about it. Okay, that's all right. Let's actually, I'm going to leave what cobalt blue I have in the brush. I'm going to leave that, but I'm going to remove the remainder of the cobalt blue from my palette, and we're going to dip into the ultramarine blue now. think is hunky dorky. Yeah. Might just leave that line in for now. A little more ultramarine blue. Now as I'm coming closer to us, I'm having less white in it, so the chroma of the ultramarine blue becomes stronger. It becomes higher. So to compensate for that, I'm going to add a touch of yellow ochre to bring it around to the greener. A little greener, and that will, because I don't want the chroma to increase as we come down to here. I want it to tone down. I want it to settle in. I think that's enough of that. You know, it's a small painting, so I don't want to have riffles and rifles and streaks all over the place. I think I'll get rid of this. We'll just leave it as a mass. You know, we're going to have lots of lines here in the rock, so I don't think we have to worry too much about the rest of it. However, I'm going to take a little bit of my yellow ochre and white and ultramarine blue. I'm just going to hint at a slight color variation there. I would like to destroy this line a little more. And let me just stand up and have a little look. Okay, I think nope, I'm tempted to poke holes in this so you can see the water through the tree. Then we get back into too much detail. And seeing as I'm trying to always be aware of not putting in too much detail, maybe we'll just leave it at that for now. But we've established our background, you know, except for a few touches here and there, a few minor changes. You know, that step 6 thing that I talk about, the last bit that I do to a painting, except for that. Well, obviously, I have to paint these trees. A couple of trunks, trunks where they're showing, and these rocks in the foreground. I'm happy with it so far. Have some nice intense colors back there. Let me just back the camera up a moment. Okay, from the last video, I hope that you did not take away from the stuff that I was talking about that I think that abstract is bad. It is not. There's good abstract, there's excellent abstract. You need to know how to compose with abstract. You don't need to be able to draw realistically, but you need to draw in the sense of dividing space, knowing where your darks and lights are. That's also a form of drawing. You know where your lines are going to be. If it's just willy-nilly and you're just throwing stuff on canvas and it turns out fine, good. There are a lot of attractive articles that have been done that way too, but it doesn't speak to your skill. It can speak to some experience because you've tried a number of different mediums, a number of different ways, which is great. But we're kind of talking about an entirely different animal now, aren't we? You know, it's almost like there's even a greater distance between Impressionism and abstract than there is between Impressionism and realism, because Impressionism is still an impression of reality, and realism is just that, a mimicry, an imitation of reality, more or less. So I hope you don't take me the wrong way. But anyway, this is good. I'm going to square off the camera. We'll zoom in so you can, as I say, kind of see it from my vantage point. And then you can see, sorry about this wonderful camera work, but that's how I do. Okay, the distant purples, and leaving smatterings of the line here and there. Coming forward, small painting like this, the shapes of those trees in the foreground and the rocks in the foreground are going to be so important. You know, you can't just take a brush and start to willy-nilly dab trees in there quickly without thoughtful brush strokes, because those trees won't have definite form. The painting really is about the shape and the character of the shapes of those trees in the foreground versus our distant colors. Okay, talk to you soon.